The pancake stretch is a great movement for working on your lower body flexibility. It's also quite useful if you're working toward more advanced handstand skills, such as being able to hold a straddle handstand, or if you want to be able to press to handstand. Having the flexibility that the pancake gives you makes a really big difference. The most common mistake that I've seen people make with this one is forcing too much range too early or before their body is ready for it. I have a few ways that I've found really helpful for myself and for clients for building up the pancake, not only to get better at the pancake stretch, but also to improve their handstands and their overall mobility and flexibility. This first drill is great if your hamstrings or groin area feels super stiff. It's also good to use as a sort of assessment for your pancake. So we're going to work with a wide stance, good morning type movement. All right, so nice and wide to start, and then I'm straightening my knees. I'm going to hinge my hips back and keep my chest up. Not super postured up here, but just a nice good posture so that I can maintain a flat back position. And you just go in and out of the position, right? I like to do reps, maybe 10 to 12. And then once you've hit that rep range, you can do a little bit of a longer hold on the final rep. Most commonly what I see is people go here and immediately round in the back, which takes away from the benefit of the stretch, makes it less efficient and less useful for you. So again, priority is hinging the hips back, keeping a nice solid posture, and keeping the back flat as you work at this. Now, you may only get to maybe here at first, but that's going to be a lot more productive for your flexibility than forcing yourself to get down and be really rounded in the back just for the sake of hitting that range of motion. I typically use that wide stance good morning as a warm-up, a prep for my main pancake training, or just to loosen up the hamstring area, the groin, all that. And I also use it as an assessment when somebody trains with me. I want to see where they're at, and this is a really good way to check on that. So you can do that for yourself, assess, and treat it as a warm-up down the road. Once it's not a huge struggle for you to do that wide stance good morning and get your torso parallel to the floor, then you can start building into some of the more direct pancake movements. If you are on the less flexible side, the first variation that I recommend is working with a bench. So nice high elevation so you can really focus on the movement and build it up. So we're going to set up on the bench here, getting into that same nice wide stance, and make sure that you're really secure on the bench as well. And then hands can be here or here. I'll put them here for the sake of this video. And same idea, you are hinging in and out of the position here. We want to keep the back nice and flat. I like to have the toes up here for support, but also because it will help to stretch out the hamstring area as well. And all the same cues apply. You want to build up your range of motion. We don't want to get here and then totally round. Again, we're not trying to force a position or force a range that we don't have. Not only can that get you injured, but it's also just not that productive. Okay, so have that in mind. Build it up. Same idea, 10 to 12 reps and a nice hold at the end. As the bench variation starts to feel easier, you start to get your torso parallel to the floor at that elevation. You can then slowly lower the platform and eventually work toward a smaller elevation. So a few weight plates like this or some yoga blocks. I like the weight plates because they feel nice and secure, and you can adjust the height a little bit more easily. All the same principles apply. I'm going to set up on my hip elevation here, and we do our reps exactly the same way. One important note is to keep the knees pointing up so we don't let the hips drop in. We keep the hips nice and open. And then we're doing that same hinging movement here and building this one up. Be careful as you get lower to the floor. This is one I've had a lot of clients ask me if they can just go to the floor. They really feel good. In my experience, you don't need to rush to the floor. I use this as prep for my handstand training, my press training, and most of the time I actually just use a little bit of hip elevation because I'm not necessarily trying to max out the pancake in that moment. I just want to warm things up and get my compression, my hamstring flexibility going. So don't always think you need to rush to get fully to the floor. A bit of hip elevation can be really useful for many, many years. The final progression that I'll show here is a weighted pancake, still with the hips elevated. And note that the weight doesn't need to be super heavy. It's just a little bit of added load to give you just a bit more feedback. We still want to implement all the same cues, so we're not so much letting the weight push us down. We're just using it to kind of drive us into the stretch a bit. All right, so I've got my weight plate here. I bring it onto the upper back. All the same notes still. I'm keeping the toes up, knees up, and I am hinging into the position and coming up with control. So I don't really let the weight push me, but again, I use it as just a bit of feedback to help me hit a little bit more range here over time. This is another one that's come up with clients where they want to keep adding weight. They're like, I can go heavier. And I'm always like, yeah, you can, but it's not necessarily going to make that much of a difference at this point. Again, oftentimes we are using the pancake to help for other movements, other skills, getting us range of motion to be able to do, the handstand or whatever else it is. So we don't need to progressively add weight always the way you might in like a deadlift or loaded squats. If you are just getting started with the pancake, then definitely assess your wide stance good morning. Start with a higher elevation. I wouldn't worry about weights for quite a while. As you get more advanced with it, you feel your hamstrings getting stronger and looser, so able to support you better, but also able to hit more range. Then work towards lower elevations and or work with some light weight. Either way, be careful, build it up. This one's a slow one, so take your time and let me know if you have questions in the comments and I will help you out.